Hi everyone, welcome back to readings of my book, Ticking My Way Through Life. Last time we read chapter 10, My Escape, where I talked all about how dance has helped me so much throughout the years and how it was the biggest escape from my tics in my life. This week we are on to chapter 11, talking about my support system. This, along with the last chapter, is actually two of my favorite chapters because it's talking about two of the things that I love the most, dancing and just the people in my life that has helped me more than anything. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Chapter 11, My Support System. Growing up with Tourette Syndrome hasn't always been easy. Despite my positivity and my drive to never let it beat me, some days ended in resentment, exhaustion, and tears. I would be exhausted from the nonstop movement that my body and brain forced upon me, angry and upset because of how badly I wanted the control back, and angry because in my head, I was letting it win. I've always had that mantra, never let Tourette Syndrome win. I think it carried me through most of my life, and I've always stuck strongly by that. But on those bad days, that mantra of mine sometimes did more harm than good. I felt like I was letting myself down. It's been a mental battle for me ever since I can remember. When another bad day comes, I know those thoughts and negative feelings will return, and it will always be a never-ending cycle. This is where I would turn to my family and friends for support. When my mind and body weren't my own anymore, I needed someone to bring me back down to earth and remind me to do one simple thing: breathe. I grew up with a fairly large and loving extended family. I only had one older brother who always had my back, especially when it came to this disorder, and my mom and dad were and have been together my whole life. But the larger part came with aunts, uncles, and 20-plus cousins who were my best friends and basically additional siblings while growing up. Obviously, we told the whole family about my condition when I was diagnosed. We, meaning my mom. I don't know why I used we there. It was my mom. My mom and dad probably, but I think mostly my mom. And I never remember anyone making it seem like it was a big deal. I didn't see the sadness in their eyes or worry for my future. I'm positive it was there, but never in front of me. It's like they instinctively knew what I needed from them, and I am internally grateful for that. Being around my family was a safe place to tic, no matter how big or small they were, and believe me, when I was a child, my tics were much bigger and complex. But even with all of that, they never made me feel alone or like I was burdening them with anything I was doing. I would get the occasional curious questions, "What are you doing?" if it was a tic they'd never seen before, or they would ask if I was okay, and that worked for me. They will never know how much their acceptance, love, and compassion for me growing up meant to me, and how it helped mold my mindset into what it is today. Although my family was huge, my real backbone through this whole thing was 100% my parents. I knew that without a doubt, they would be there to catch me every time I would fall. My mom was my best friend growing up. She still is to this day. And now that I am an adult, I can look back and see just how much she did for me. She will know what kind of phone call it's going to be just by the way I say mom or hi when she picks up, and hearing her voice on the other end of the phone instantly comforts me every single time. She knew how to calm me down in just the right way. When a tic attack would happen, it didn't matter what she was doing. She would be beside me, rubbing my back or playing with my hair, helping me to focus on my breathing. In through your nose and out through your mouth, she would tell me often, having to repeat herself while I would get worked up repeatedly. My mom was always the perfect balance while I was growing up. She was my mom when she needed to be a mom, and importantly, she was my friend when I needed a friend. She never made me feel bad for who I was and never made a big deal of it either. She knew I had something that could make life hard, but she never told me that. She helped me to learn what I could do instead of the things that I couldn't. Whenever I told her how much I hated having this disorder, whenever I cried, she didn't make me feel like my sadness didn't matter. She didn't tell me that other people had bigger problems or that I was lucky because I had a mild case. She just let me feel what I needed to feel in those moments. I don't think she realizes how those small moments meant everything to me. I was a daughter, and the pain I was feeling was real, even if she didn't understand it firsthand, and I think that is so incredibly important. I don't know how to explain it, but she just knew. She was meant to be a mother of a child with Tourette Syndrome, because she was, and still is, caring, selfless, and a calming force to be around. My dad, on the other hand, had a different coping mechanism when it came to my Tourette Syndrome. He hated to see me tic, and he still does. I don't remember him showing that when I was a child, or maybe I was just too naive to see it on his face, but now that I'm an adult, I can see how it hurts him to know that he can't make it go away. His technique has, and always will be, laughter. You see, my dad lives to see the people he loves laugh and smile. He will go to great lengths just to hear us laugh, often at his own expense. He always does the same thing, though. I can hear him in my head as I type this. "Britt, are you okay?" When I start to flick my head or roll my eyes constantly. Always I nod and say, "Yeah, I'm fine," because even when it won't stop, I know I am because he's right there. Usually a joke or something ridiculous will come flying out of his mouth soon after, and looking back, I know he was doing that for me. He would take me out of that moment and bring me back to what was happening with his quick check-in and quick, sometimes incredibly corny, jokes. His jokes and words of encouragement will always mean the most to me. My dad has never been the type of person to verbally say the things he felt in his heart, and he kind of still isn't. But he had a way with words when he could write or type them out when he needed to. My mom always jokes and says that I'm the female version of him, and I can't disagree. There are so many things I get from my father, and I know because of that, he blames himself for what some people call my problems. But what he doesn't know is that I'm proud to be a little version of him. He gave me my strength to never back down. He made me feel empowered to never, ever let someone take advantage of me or make jokes at my expense when it came to my disorder. Without him, I wouldn't be half as strong as I am today. I wish I could sit here and give you a rundown of every single person in my family, but I don't think anyone has that kind of time. So instead, I'll do my best to sum up how incredible my family was. I could sum it up just by telling you that I was one of the lucky ones. Like I said earlier, it was as if everybody instinctively knew what to do. They might feel differently, but that's how I see it. They showed how much they cared about me just by letting me be myself. It's as simple as that. They knew the tics could come at any point. I could be laughing and having a great time one minute, and I could go into a tic attack the next. They didn't happen often, as I was outside playing with my brother and my cousins, but when it did, they would sit with me, make sure I was okay, and go to get my mom if it was needed. I remember one time in particular, my husband and I were out of town visiting my brother, and we were out with his friends when I felt my stomach start to contract in and out aggressively. I felt my breath getting shorter, and I felt the panic of being in a public place start to set in. I was suddenly very aware that I was around people that might not have known I had Tourette Syndrome. I felt my head start to tilt back, and I tried with all my might to keep it forward. I was trying to suppress it as best I could, and hope that no one would notice the weird girl who couldn't sit still. I tried to keep it under control because I didn't want to ruin anyone's night, but my brother looked over at me and immediately knew I needed to leave. He didn't hesitate for a second. He didn't care that he had to leave his friends or that I ended the night early. I don't know if he remembers that, but I do, and that small moment is something I don't know if I'll ever forget. He's not always great with expressing his feelings either, but it's in those small moments that I know he will always have my back. I'm blessed because my life is filled with moments like these ones I spoke about, but not everyone is as fortunate to have a supporting family. It breaks my heart every time I see it, but there are just some people out there that don't have the compassion that is needed to be a parent, family member, or even a friend of someone with Tourette syndrome. I know it can be annoying to the people around us. Everyone who tics knows that, and I can almost guarantee that it is not something that runs through all of our minds while we tic in public. You never know who's going to say something or make a big deal about it, and that can be terrifying. That is why I'm grateful to every single person in my life who has let me be me around them, and for every family function where I could tic as much as I want and know that no one would or ever will say anything about it. My hope to the person reading this who has a child or knows someone with Tourette syndrome is for them to be that person for someone else. I may have had an army of support while growing up, but not everyone does. Try to be that advocate, that person they feel comfortable around, and let them know that they have support in you. It can make the world of difference in the life of someone with Tourette syndrome or any other disorder or disability. So that was chapter 11, my support system. If you guys enjoyed that and you do not have your own copy of Taking My Way Through Life yet, you can buy it online anywhere books are sold. But remember, as I always say, if you do enjoy it, if you have read it already and you have not gotten a chance to leave a review yet, please do so where you bought it from. Written reviews, the star reviews are awesome too. I will always accept them, especially when they're good. But the written reviews help so much more. It helps books to be seen a lot more and helps authors like myself a ton. So please, if you have read it and enjoyed it, remember to leave that review, and I will see you all next time.